Everything moves so fast now. Modern life feels noisy and chaotic, and I can't help but think feminine women were never meant to live like this. We were meant for something softer, for presence, and for connection. Something that feels maybe just a little more 2005. Feminine women should live a late 90s or a 2005, like I'm going to call it for this video, lifestyle. You have the choice to live like it's 2005, to cut out the noise, cut out the excess technology, live a slower paced life. And I believe, honestly, because I've done it over the past couple months, that this will improve your femininity. And today I'm going to help make the case to convince you of so. Before I get into the video, I just wanted to thank so much my members. I will leave a link down below if you're interested in becoming a member. This helps pour back into the channel and support my small channel. And I also want to thank everybody who likes the videos as well as leaves comments down below. I love hearing your thoughts on the topics that I discuss, and a little just like disclaimer out there, you are probably going to hear my toddlers in the background. That is just the way that it is. I apologize. I try to filter them out, but it's real life over here. Feminine energy, feminine spirit, whatever you want to call it, needs slowness. It is gentle. It needs intuitiveness. It is focused on beauty, nurturing, kindness. However, in today's culture, we are pulled in all different types of direction, and we don't have the energy to focus on those core values. We are constantly multitasking, chasing productivity, living a fast-paced lifestyle. In 2005, you didn't have the accessibility like refreshing your apps every day. There wasn't like 10 messages waiting in your Instagram inbox right now. You weren't constantly bombarded by like hot takes, by controversial content, and you really could pick and choose what you decided to consume. You had more space to think, more space to feel, more space to just be, more space to be present with your family, more space to be present in your body, and more space to enjoy your home for what your home was, not what media tells you your home should be. I believe that that slowness is where femininity thrives. It is one of the most important elements to create a feminine lifestyle. This gives the space and honestly, in a certain way, like the positive boredom to recognize those like mundane things that make life beautiful. For example, sitting outside without the distraction of your phone, being able to see like the sunlight hitting your child's hair, and just the beauty of like your genetics being passed down in a fully embodied soul human being. Noticing your husband's mood shift when he comes home and you create a cozy atmosphere for him. Or like even for yourself. I know many single women listen to my content as well. The peace that a warm dinner brings, the lights dim down low, a special bubble bath without like having to watch Netflix in the background. These are all things that I believe create a deep feminine life. This is the slow living that people are constantly chasing. And I think that if we go back to 2005 or like late 90s, we can better achieve it. You can't access these things if you feel constantly overstimulated. And so that leads me into my second point where I mentioned here and there, like phones steal your femininity. My ultimate goal is to get a Barbie phone, a Barbie dummy phone. I'll put it on the screen here and just use my iPad. Actually, like for proof, I have an iPad right here that I've been working on transferring all my social media apps to. And lately, I might actually make an entire video on this, but I have severely limited my Instagram as well as TikTok consumption to under 25 minutes per day by putting it in its own folder. But I wanted to emulate more of a 2005 lifestyle because we weren't constantly bombarded by all of these apps back in the day. They didn't take away our attention 24/7. If you wanted to go on the computer, if you wanted to use the internet, you had to go to the library or you had to go into your computer room. You had to actively choose to do so. Rather, nowadays, our connection to social media and the internet is more of a passive choice. And this passive choice overwhelms us. As feminine women, we are highly sensitive. And I've mentioned this countless times. This is not a bad thing. This is the way that we can pour back into our children, back into ourselves, that we can bless a friend going through a hard time. However, However, that emotional attunement is just wasted on constant overstimulation nowadays, and we can't direct it in the right attention because we just don't have the space to be. This technology has created for us to be, in a sense, numb. We stop enjoying the process of cooking real meals, the process of sitting on our couch with a cozy coffee and no other distraction. Our energy is going out to all of these social media apps, for example, rather than the people who matter most. And honestly, rather than yourself, rather than the energy for you to recharge, especially if you are somebody who, has to go out there every day and work a job that you might not be totally fond of. That excess time wasted on social media is time that you could be spending on yourself, investing in a hobby, investing in the things that make you passionate to kind of offset whatever circumstance that you're going through right now. So I chose silence. I started taking, the actual steps to create a barrier because these things are highly addictive. Keep that in mind. Give yourself a little bit of grace. But like I mentioned, putting the apps in a folder, transitioning things to an iPad so I can actually put the iPad away. This is the piece that I was seeking that I didn't know until I gave myself these limits, that my femininity returned even tenfold. In 2005, there was more of a family culture, a culture of togetherness. In 2005, we ran errands together. We went to the mall. Even though, the mall isn't necessarily the best thing in the world, mall culture was still positive in certain ways, and that there was like that third space that people talk about, that gathering space. Although like Instacart apps, for example, I mentioned in my homemaking videos, can be positive for price matching. There was still something to be said about the whole experience of like errand day, of again, going to the mall together with your friends and your family, going to the arcade, going to the movies and being totally unplugged. We have lost the ritual of the outing, of the excitement that builds towards the outing, the joy of not knowing the type of lip gloss you're going to pick out at Sephora, but like actually going there with a friend and doing so. And if you're a mom, like with your daughter. I used to post about on Instagram where like I had realized the joy of the food court again, where every single person can get what they want and it's like an extra outing rather than just ordering DoorDash. Bring back the beauty of the outing. Blockbuster used to be a thing, but of course we can't do that now, but like try to be creative. Utilize your library. I mentioned in my feminine lifestyle tips video that like just the mere thing of like organizing your cart in an aesthetically pleasing way can help you bring back that 2005 feel that helps you be more feminine. In 2005, eating out was a treat. It wasn't like an everyday thing. Back to the concept of like DoorDash. The meal was a sacred time. People ate together more often. It wasn't so much what we see nowadays with like the mom eating on the counter and the kids just like running amok. The ritual of eating together, the ritual of going out for a special occasion. People have lost the art of cooking at home. And honestly, I'm not exactly sure why. Of course, there could be like the advertisements of convenience food. It could also be the overwhelm. Back in the 90s when our moms were cooking at home, it was like Campbell's soup, like chicken casserole and shake and bake. It wasn't a huge ordeal, but it was the concept of like a family eating together. It was the concept of like cozy home cooked meals. There wasn't the expectation of like TikTok famous chefs. And like I've seen a lot of bashing of stay-at-home mom cooking. Just there was not as much of that noise there. And people just learned how to cook as they go. They looked at the back of the Campbell's soup, container for the recipe and they emulated it and they tweaked it as they go. They learned to use what they had and they made special meals at home. Nourishing the people that you love is like a deep act of feminine love. I know that sounds a little bit radical, but sustenance is necessary for life, and actually having the joy and energy to do so is a reflection of your outpour of love as a feminine woman. So living like it's 2005 in terms of this would be remembering that it's not about perfection, it is about the act and it is about the love. Get in the mood like a 90s mom cooking in the kitchen, blast your favorite song, and just remember that it's about bringing your family together. If you are a single woman, just remember it's about giving yourself love through nourishing yourself, but also putting the energy into doing so, to showing yourself that you believe that you are worth it and you're much more than like a takeout ramen dinner from DoorDash. You are worth cooking for yourself. There's something also so beautiful and cozy about the way that women ran their homes in the 2000s. People can't quite grasp exactly what it is. I know a lot of fascination that Gen Z has is with like the Tuscany interiors or like, the goose kitchens. There were so many different aesthetics in the 90s and early 2000s because people weren't so fixated on adhering to a specific aesthetic. They were more so focused on finding their own style and adapting it into their homes. Mismatched furniture, like kids' artwork on the fridge, a lived-in kitchen, these were normal things that made the house feel lived in, that made the house feel warm, that made the house feel feminine. Remember that like homemaking is not just a task, it is a legacy. It's the atmosphere that your children are going to remember when they are old. It's so much more worth putting your own personality in and like having those mismatched things and having that lived in home than it is to having the Instagram aesthetic home, because at the end of the day, like people aren't going to remember your Instagram, your kids, and yourself. You're going to remember how you felt in your cozy home. This is something that I will admit I am not perfect at because I gravitate more towards a minimalist aesthetic. So this is something that I'm constantly practicing, being okay with a lived in home, being okay with a little bit of clutter, little touches of like my daughter's Minnie Mouse blanket on the sofa, or like having my kid's drawings splayed out because like he doesn't want me to touch it. These are all things that cultivate atmosphere and help me refine my femininity. And it doesn't require money or like an extreme amount of thought. It's just about presence and mindfulness of the childhood of other people and even like the living of other people, such as my husband in this home. And that is a very feminine thing to do. And that trumps any trend that could influence you. Now women are told to embrace independence and living a fast-paced lifestyle. And honestly, I am not going to dissuade you from being a successful person. I actually find that I am like a deeply ambitious person. But the difference and the reason why I talk about like traditional feminine values on this channel in comparison to modern values is because I believe that the feminine woman has the best success by seeing her life holistically. Society doesn't care about your memories on your deathbed. They just care about how much money you are generating. Your definition of ambition should be a holistic one as a feminine woman. You should not be constantly chasing a dollar amount in your bank account and comparing yourself to other people through social media, for example. You should be reevaluating if you have your needs met, if you are feeling joyful and fulfilled, and if you are living balanced and you're not burning yourself out. Do not compare your success to the success of a man. In 2005, we had much less of this hustle culture mentality because we just didn't have as much exposure. So women had the space to evaluate what a fulfilled and successful life meant to them. They also didn't have the constant bombardment of what they need to look for in a man, and there wasn't as much hookup culture. They could actually get to know somebody, get to know their values, reflect on things for themselves if like this person aligned with their values, and they were able to move forward with a relationship without constant noise from society about like what a successful man and what a successful woman is and what a relationship should be. There's so much power in softness and in life-giving relationships. Defining what a successful feminine life, a successful relationship, a successful career, a successful family life is for you without influence from the noise is so important as a feminine woman. And I do want to make another video talking about this, but this was always the core values and the crux of the traditional feminine movement. It was about redefining success and getting the world to acknowledge and appreciate that the feminine woman is different from a man, that is okay and that is worthy of respect. It wasn't about telling you that this is the exact way that you should live, but it was about encouraging you that a life built around softness, around more of what society now deems as like weaker values, but are inherently feminine values, are worth and worthy of respect just as much as masculine ones are. And in 2005, we had a little bit less of that shame because, again, we were all a little bit more unplugged, and feminine women had more of the space to discover that for themselves. That's another big push behind my content because I want you to have a safe space here to do the same. So to conclude, feminine women flourish in the nurturing, the calm, the softness. We can, of course, see this through superficial things in this trend of living more like 2005, the cozy music, the hot pot of coffee, the library books, the less stimulating TV, the home-cooked Campbell's meals, the lack of hustle culture. But we can also appreciate it for the deeper core values, the family connections, the concept of an outing, the concept of pouring back into your family without guilt, the concept of discovering your own goals, your own hopes, your own dreams, your own ambition for a relationship as well as a career, as well as a life. This video is for the woman that might feel overstimulated, who is seeking something more, to just give you a little nudge that perhaps living like 2005 is just what you need. Maybe living like 2005 is what I would call your feminine rebellion. Let me know in the comments if this resonates with you. What do you want to bring back, or what have you brought back in your life from like 2005 and that 2005 or like late 90s aesthetic, but also lifestyle genre? I would love to hear it. Thank you again for those of you who like the videos, who are members. All of these things help support my message and my small channel. Get out there amongst all the big ones. Thank you so much. See you next time.